Start with the usual. Any injuries, any updates? Where you guys at, and how you feeling going into the big game against Fordham on Wednesday?
Um, just talk to our team just about understanding that every game's going to go down to the last 4 minutes, and we just have to make more plays when it matters. Got to take better care of the ball. Got to make sure we make, the extra pass at crunch time. We've done a good enough job defensively. We just can't let that slip. That's pretty much the emphasis. And then we have to know what we're in for. Like Rhode Island had to grind it out against Fordham. They had them on the ropes and just didn't finish them. So it's certainly, I think every game's going to be the same for us regardless of the opponent.
Is that something that going down the road you can correct to maybe eventually become, I don't want to say dominant, but more in control of games?
I mean, until we make shots on a consistent basis, they're all going to come down to making enough plays at the end of the game. And, right now we haven't shown the ability to really pop things open. So I feel like we're getting better, but we're still not. The good thing is we're developing our young guys, which gives us a chance to be successful.
Keith, from a mental standpoint, Austin's had single-digit minutes the last 3 games. Is that a byproduct of Marcus and Mike doing well? Is that a confidence thing, a combination? How do you see it?
That's a good question, Zach. So, you know me, I'm always going to tell you the truth. So the truth of the matter is we decided we were going to go kind of like what we did last year with Bailey, Marcus, and Mike Hughes. And then if we had foul trouble, play the fourth big. We were going to do that with Dre Harris. And that's kind of the direction. We shortened up a little bit, our bench a little bit, but that may not happen in the future.
Keith, what can shooters are shooters and they have certain abilities, and what can a coach do to make things easier on them?
I think part of our lack of shooting is due to our lack of penetration and our lack of I'm trying to get the right word. Just our newness to our new roles, really, right? So, like, there's certainly, look, we miss Sincere's penetration when it matters. I mean, he averaged 6 assists or 5.5 assists a game, and had the ability to score too. I mean, that's a change, and so we haven't adjusted great to the change yet. Simple as that.
Tavian scored well the other day, though, right?
Pardon me?
Tavian scored well. Didn't he have 18?
He did. So there's give and take both directions. I'll give you a great example. This happened to me in 1987. When I was an assistant at Eastern Michigan, we won the league. We started Grant Long, who played 15 years in the NBA, and everything ran through Grant Long. The following year, Grant was in the NBA. We had all 4 starters back and 7 out of our top 8 guys back, and we went 19-13. And the reason is we didn't adjust to the loss of playing through him. Now, 3 years later, they went to the Sweet 16 when Marcus Kennedy was there because they got another dominant big and the same players were there. So it's funny how one guy can really affect everything, really. Basketball is a funny game like that. We're just adjusting, but we're adjusting close. We're playing close. We're just not winning.
It almost sounds like you're saying the better players you have that play well make you a better coach.
If people think that this is about coaching, the higher the level you go, it becomes more and more about the players. Now, the coach obviously has a lot to dictates a lot of things, but if you don't have experienced players that have been through the grind of it and don't put the ball in the basket, I mean, That's our job, is to continue to develop their skill level so that they do put the ball in the basket. And again, get enough penetration, get enough inside out basketball, get enough transition that we don't have to grind through it like going to the dentist every single day.
What do you have on Chad Baker getting named freshman of the week from the A-10?
He had one really good game, and then, obviously didn't shoot the ball in the second game. He tried hard though. Again, like I don't really have any problem as long as guys play together and try hard. I can live with the results ultimately. So we'll win our share of games if we try hard and play together. And I felt like he did both.
As a direct follow to that, Keith, you mentioned that you were going to talk to him and you trusted your relationship with him in relationship to those repeated whistles. Just, I know you don't want to get too involved with it, but how has that gone in that respect, just trying to realize that line for him?
I mean, I thought he handled it well. I talked to him about it, and I talked to a couple other guys about attitude issues as well that need to be cleaned up. So that's a constant battle that you fight nowadays as a coach. Like, you have to consistently keep your finger on culture, attitude, playing together, slippage, so, but I think he'll come around. Look at what makes people great a lot of times kills them as well. Like you look at Chad, what makes him pretty good is he's competitive and he's loose. What makes him pretty bad is he's competitive and he's loose.
Hey, Keith, this goes back to something you're talking about in your post game after St. Bonaventure. I was wondering about it too. At what point did you guys realize that they gave the foul to the wrong guy in the Lofton charge? And how you did immediately?
Yeah.
How do they? Is there an issue there, like, kind of with everybody socially distanced and spaced out, that you can't get that communicated to the refs, or they're less able to, talk to you guys on the bench, or what? How did that come to pass?
Yeah, that could be, Tim. Like, again, I like those guys. They're honest people. They made a mistake. Maybe they didn't understand the communication because they got the hand check, but they didn't get the charge. I mean, regardless, it's a big play. Like, you can downplay it all you want, but look at the plus minus when Lofton was in the game. But listen, in the grand scheme of things, it's better it happened this year than any other year. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, no, I was just, especially at Kerr, when you've got everybody who's on the TV side upstairs to not realize it either, or communicate. And like a lot of the guys who normally can communicate to the refs, is that's just a logistical thing that you kind of have to deal with when you're playing there and playing in this year.
Yeah, normally the other thing you do is you go to the scorer's table and you tell them to hit the horn.
Yeah.
Like, me, when I think I'm right, I'm going to go all in now. Like, you saw that already. So, but our assistant coaches hit him on it immediately. Like, I didn't really catch it. That's not really my deal to catch.
And the explanation was basically they just said 5 because it was Weathers number 5 that took the charge, and they kind of got their wires crossed.
Could be. There was no explanation really.
Coach, on to that, we talk about the players often kind of being off because of lack of practice sometimes and things like that. But, these referees, I mean, there wasn't as much AAU this year. There wasn't as much high school stuff or ways for the referees to get practice. How do you think that's affecting the college game, if it is at all?
I don't really think so. Those guys are high-level referees for the most part. They're doing, some of them are doing 80 games a year. Like, they're doing a ton of games. I mean, they're high-level guys, and we get a lot of high-level guys because of the association with the ACC and the A10. So I'm really not going to complain about it. I don't think the summer really affected them, other than maybe they didn't get to work out as much, just like us. That would be the only thing. Like, and and they go to camps and things, but most of the guys we're getting some guys that are Final Four, Sweet 16, not all of them, but most of them, so, I think our league does a pretty good job with it. Again, we got to move up the standings. That's what it comes down to. In my opinion, a lot of times bang, 50-50 calls go to the better team. That's just the way it is. Like I was on the beneficial end of it for a lot of years.
You could get any more conversation or direction from the league about maybe having to be nimble and being ready for games to be rescheduled, kind of like what happened against St. Bonaventure?
I'm sure Dave gets more than I do, Dave Harper.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't get much. I wouldn't count on us getting any breaks. Like, again, because of where we are in the standings versus where other people are. So, as you know, that just like the NCAA wants to play those games because of the dollar value of the NCAA tournament, the A10 wants to get 3-4 teams in the NCAA tournament. And we certainly aren't one of those teams that are on the bubble.
Do you think you
Up those
can
games one way or the other, right?
Pardon me?
You're going to make up those two games one way or the other.
I would assume so. I'd be disappointed if we had to go to St. Louis again. I'm not going to lie about that, because we chartered out there. It cost us a lot of money, and they were positive, and they probably should have tested before we got out there. And I probably shouldn't say that, but that, me, I'm always going to tell you what I think. I should just keep my mouth shut, but that's how I feel. So what the hell?
Well, wow. There's a couple ways I could go here. To follow up on that, I mean, what do you think you learned from that, and how did that whole thing go down? Because it was very confusing, I know, at least to me.
I don't really know. Again, like I'm void of the paperwork, right? But I do know that you have to sign off that all your people are healthy before the other team leaves.
Do you feel like the Atlantic 10 owes you another home game in your new building? I mean, they took away that home game against St. Bonaventure on March 3rd, which probably would have been in the Cooper Center. Would you like for another game to be kind of moved back or rescheduled to be played in there? Because essentially they took away a home game from you guys.
Well, they didn't take well, yeah, you're right. They did, because we played at La Roche. But the new building's not going to be a home game either for a while, right? Like we're not going to really practice over there until a couple of days before, maybe a day before, maybe not at all. I don't know. So, but I will tell you this, I've been in the new building, and it's going to be really, really, really nice when it's all done. I was in yesterday, and it should give us, if we can ever go out and recruit again, it should give us some benefits.
Are you still finding joy in this season? Are you still finding fun? Is it becoming more worth it as you go along? I remember a few weeks ago you almost pretty much said, as long as nobody like has anything catastrophic. Do you still kind of feel that way, or is it evolving as you go along?
That's an unreal question. So I have to force myself, because again, I haven't been involved in a losing season as a head coach in 19 years. So like, obviously I can't be too happy, right? Like, so look, listen, the thing that I'm finding joy in is just the challenge of it all. So this is an unbelievable challenge. So we'll see what happens with it. We'll see if I can, kind of put the pieces back together again, see what I have in my tank, see what our guys have in their tank. It's been a weird year. Ask Coach K.
Well, he did call it. He called the reporter. He called the kid. That was nice of him.
He almost had to, right? Like, but I mean, he knew, he knows, he's a good man. he knows but as you know, as a reporter, you've been there, like right after the game's a tough time for the coach. Like, especially a competitive man who's doing that for as long as he's done it, right? Like, you really don't even want to do the interview at that point. Like, so like anything somebody says at that point, like you just got to take with a grain of salt, really. It wasn't personal. And then the older you get, trust me, I know it's even worse. When you're young, you bite your lip a little bit. When you're old, you feel like, you know. So I feel for both sides of the equation. You know what I mean? Like, certainly the young man didn't deserve it. And then Coach K, like, so what? You know, like, he didn't really mean it.
Yeah, well, I bet you the kid won't ask what's next again.
Poor thing, first question, you get lambasted, right?
Boeheim bit my head off 6 times worse than that when I was at Syracuse as a student. That was nothing.
Yeah, but no tweets now, or no tweets back then, Timmy boy, right?
True. That's true, right?
You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, we've all been there. I remember one time at Akron, this guy was putting a ticket on my car, right? And I'm thinking, damn, I've been here so long. I'm like, it's ridiculous. And I'm thinking, and I said, look, I'm just here temporarily. I had to drop some off, and he kept writing the ticket. So if you didn't think I had to take 15 hard breaths, right? And it was a student. Could you imagine reading that in the paper? Coach loses his mind on student. But it's the same stuff. And, you know, coaches are competitive. So, like, they don't really like to get second guessed or ask tough questions, really, especially after a loss.
Keith, as a follow to that, just what do you see with student media now and with the emergence of social media? Where do you see student media and their place, quote unquote, on the table?
Great training, right? I mean, you know, it's great training for young people. You know, my thing with the media is the same thing I ask of players and relationships is just be committed to one another and try to help each other. And ultimately, you got a job, I got a job, the players have a job. And if I make a mistake and you feel like you can swallow it like I did today, then swallow it. And if you can't, then that's the way it goes. And I should have kept my mouth shut. But I think, look, the more training young people get, the better. But I bet you that next question will be a little bit softer.
Better phrase. I mean, but that's what happens when these press conferences we do go, they're virtual, they go public. Instead of, if it wasn't something that the world will see, the kid probably would say, hey, maybe asking that question a different way would elicit a better response or something. Because you can't learn how to do this in J school. You got to do it in the field.
No, I mean, listen, we all need mentored. I'm 62 and I still need mentored, right? And certainly to ask your first question, I mean, I thought it was a fair question. I think you could have got away with asking the question, but, you know, a 70-year-old man doesn't really want to hear it from a 19-year-old, right? Like, let's be real about it, right? Like, that's like your grandson asking you a question that you really, or challenging you, or you don't really like, or you're in a bad mood at that moment. You really don't want to hear it, right? Or your wife, for that matter.
That's why I like being older than all the coaches I cover.
Jerry, that's a great point. I remember this. I was playing third base at the University of Akron, and my mom was a psychology professor there, and she was at the game like she was at every other game. And, you know, I went home that night, and she said, don't you think you should have had that ball in the hole? And I'm thinking, this woman is a psychology professor, and she's telling me what ball I should have come up with and what ball I shouldn't come up with. You know, think about that. It's the same thing. Like, we don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it, right? Nobody wants to hear their breath stinks. But sometimes your breath stinks.
Was she right?
Probably. She was the smartest woman I've ever been around, smartest person I've ever been around, really. So she knew a lot. She probably was right, but I still didn't want to hear it. All right.
Thanks, Keith.
See y'all. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks,